The views on this program do not reflect those of ONTV or its board of directors. Welcome to OAA Now, your home for Oakland Activities Association news and information. Here's your host, Sammy Terry.
Welcome to OAA Now here on Sam Terry, blog of the Dragons Insider, blog of Inside the OAA, one of the hosts of Between 10 Minutes on Orion Television. I'd like to welcome those watching on the local voice on SoundCloud and also those watching on Orion Television. Got Ian here this week here.
Hey, man, what a crazy weekend for football. Friday night for football. My goodness.
You got some cross-country highlights, too, this week.
We do, yeah. The county meet was here. Kind of crept up on us.
Yeah, it did.
And so we have some news on that.
Regional not that far, too.
What's that?
Regional not that far, too.
No, regionals are just around the corner, and they've changed it a little bit. MHSA has some pre-regional activity going on.
Makes it really interesting.
So, yeah, just for safety's sake. But I think the MHSA is doing the right thing.
Mm-hmm.
But what can you say about that football action on Friday, Sammy?
A lot of good games. Berkeley, Troy, Athens, and then, of course, the you called it the play of the year, what Caleb Croner of Seaholm did against Jaden Magnum.
We got to talk about that.
Oh, yes.
That game has to be looked at in detail. Now, my problem with that game was I only saw it on Twitter, right? So I'm watching
It'll
the
be
score.
on Birmingham Public Access.
See, I can't wait to see it. It's one that you want to see. You do not want to
that game
miss
was
it.
Insane.
It was nuts.
Nuts.
So shall we get into the,
Let's get into the highlights.
Scores, hey?
Mm-hmm.
All right, OAA Now sports update. Hey, we got some scores like we were talking about. Crazy game outcomes, close games, come from behind, blowouts. We had a little bit of everything, but I just can't wait to talk about that play at Seaholm Groves. But anyway, before we get into there, let's see. Avondale 66, Pontiac 2. Is that a surprise?
No.
Not at all, but tagging 66 on the Phoenix is a pretty rough
This is
go.
the second straight year they've done it to them.
Yeah. Rochester, are they for real? 54-0 over Royal Oak.
Let me know in 3 weeks.
Berkeley.
Actually, no, this week and next week they got big games.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah.
Well, obviously we'll talk about that too. Now, Berkeley and Troy Athens, that was an interesting game. It was a fun back-and-forth affair. Berkeley takes it, though, 22-20 over Athens. Berkeley is 4-0 for the first time since 2014. They trailed 14-0 at one point. Domzaliski.
Yep, Ian Domowski.
Domowski. You got to spell these out phonetically.
Jake. Yep, Ian and Jake. They're both brothers.
3-yard score, is that what it is? Or they combined for 15 points together. So the
Athens is three
super
straight
siblings.
Lost. Yep, Athens lost 3 straight games by 15 points.
Which is crazy.
Yep.
We've seen that happen before, though.
Oh, sure.
Ferndale 28-7 over Troy.
They're back. They're back.
Ferndale's back.
They're back.
Troy still having a hard time finding the end zone.
Yep.
Brother Rice 43-7 over Bloomfield Hills.
Expected.
Stony Creek 23, Adams 10. Stony Creek first win over Rochester Adams since 2013 and the first ever win at Rochester Adams. Cam Burford
Yep.
had 132 yards rushing for Royal Oak. Stony Creek, or Adams, sorry, excuse me. So that was an interesting game, too. I thought it would be a little closer.
Well, here's the thing. I thought we'll talk about that game more in detail.
All right, where are we at here? North Farmington. No surprise, 38-14. Farmington just having a hard time at this point.
Yeah, they've been giving up over 35 points each game this year.
Clarkston Lake Orion. My goodness. Clarkston 31-7 over the Dragons. DePillo 10 for 16, 191 through the air. And that aerial attack surprised the Dragons and was the difference in that matchup. I mean, they picked apart that Dragon defense.
I could not believe it. Well, it was the same game plan that Utica Eisenhower did last year against them.
Yep, and it worked again.
Mm-hmm.
Brooks, what can you say?
4 running touchdowns, you know what I mean?
He was that offensive line was the story of that game and took over, but give it to the Wolves. They handed it to the Dragons, 31-7. West Bloomfield at home against Oxford, 45-0.
Well, West Bloomfield's very good. Let's not forget that.
Well, we know that. We thought the new look Oxford Wildcats might make a dent in there, though.
What happens?
Southfield Arts and Tech 33-6 over Oak Park. Oak Park continues to slide.
That's a hard team to figure out how they've been playing.
Yeah, and that's it for the football roundup there. Like Sammy said, we do have some cross country. So the county meet, Oakland County meet, was held on October 9th and 10th at Kensington Metro Park, as it always is. OAA teams and individual runners did very well this year, as they always do. We'll start with the boys. In fact, the OAA made up a nice portion of the top 10 overall individual finishers. Peter Baracco of Farmington was the overall champion at 15:43.1 seconds. Stony Creek's senior duo of Tristan Brandenburg and Kurt Karen were third and fourth overall, propelling Stony Creek's team to a third-place overall finish with 116 points. Congratulations to Stony Creek. Clarkston's Andrew Sesti was fifth. Nick Loren of Lake Orion was eighth. Let's see. Team results. Milford took the top spot with 88 points. Novi was second with 94. Stony was in third, as we mentioned, at 116. Lake Orion, a surprise fourth, maybe?
That was a
good showing for them.
Showing for them.
Still underclassmen, led by juniors, 166. Yep. Farmington, fifth overall with 178. Some of the final results for the women's individual races were not published at athletic.net. Let's say easily read, so we'll just do this. The women's varsity race was an eye-opener, though.
Clarkston.
And I do believe there is a team in particular, with their performance last Saturday, that is announcing to the entire state of watch out. Wow. That would be the Lady Wolves of Clarkston. They blew away the field, taking overall team title with a ridiculous 83 points against that field.
Ouch.
Walled Lake Northern was second with 113. Milford was third. Walled Lake Western was fourth. And Rochester Adams was fifth. Good for Rochester Adams there. The Wolves were led by freshman upstarts Ava Iterahu and Alex Briam, and seniors Maya Bergman and Maddie Drennan. The pack running Wolves are showing signs that they could make some noise in the postseason.
That could be dangerous.
It could be, and they're back, right? You thought they lost so much last year, but let's see what happens. The individual overall champion was no surprise at all. Seaholm's Audrey Didamio, again, county champion with a blistering the newly redesigned Kensington course, 17:53.6, Sammy. Sophie Novak of Lake Orion, Haley Danon of Seaholm, all earned top 10 finishes for all county honors.
Jeez Louise.
And that is the roundup here at the OAA Now.
Jeez Louise.
17:53.
Crazy.
Yeah, she's either the favorite or right there with one other to take the state title this year. She is on a mission.
Seaholm as a school right now, it's just
they're on fire.
They're on. I mean, like in that game in Beverly Hills.
Yeah, back to football.
You know,
yeah, it's one of those. We were talking off pre-show.
I showed you the film of that play.
My goodness, I didn't see that play. Like I said, I was stuck to Twitter.
Yes.
And watching the Lake Orion game live, through ONTV. And
that play
you shared with that play, and I'm announcing it now, Sammy, play of the year. So set the stage for those who didn't get a chance to see it. If you're watching on Twitter, people knew that it was a back and forth affair.
Yeah.
So give us the rundown of how that game drove Seaholm.
Groves started a backup quarterback in this game because Jack Woods was out with an injury,
which never is usually a good thing.
So, but they had a quarterback in there who was very good. So Groves threw a screen pass. It was about 7 minutes to go in the game.
What was the score?
21-21.
In favor of?
It was 21-21.
Oh yeah.
And then
I thought it said 27 on your clock. 21 tied.
Yep. And then they threw a screen pass to Jaden Magnum, who is Groves' best player. Magnum's rushing 60 yards to the end zone.
Looked like he was gone.
Crowd
was going crazy.
Crowd was going nuts, especially on the Groves side. But here comes Caleb Kroner, the quarterback for Seaholm, chasing him down, and then basically stripping the ball from him. And
at
the
5-yard line or under?
Around the 2-yard line. And then the ball just goes into the end zone, out of the end zone for a touchback. And that play changed the whole game because the next drive down, Seaholm went down, led by a 10-yard touchdown run by Jackson Vance, to give Seaholm that momentum and that emotional swing. That was an emotional win for Seaholm, knocking off Groves 35-28. I mean, like, that was just, it's the second straight time that they've won against Groves, in about a span of a year. It's the second straight prior to losing 6 straight.
Yeah.
And
we know the history of them back to the playoffs, right?
And that district final was a blowout last year.
But that play.
Yeah, that play.
You don't see plays like that often. It's one of those plays that they're going to be talking about down there
in Birmingham
forever. It's going to be one of those things that is now going into lore of how far did he run? Because he
chased him down.
He was flat-footed.
Mm-hmm.
The receiver's in stride, and he ran him down. Caught him
when
he had to.
He chased him down and
punched the ball out.
This is a monster win for Coach Jim DeWall.
Oh, yeah.
Monster win. And when you look at what Seaholm has done, last season, going to the state semifinal, having an experienced team back, what happened in week 1 against Stony Creek was just a huge shock. And then, of course, battling back, winning, they've won 3 straight games. I mean, like, since that Stony Creek disaster. I mean, like, Seaholm's a team that I don't think anybody wants to see in the postseason.
No.
Because, one, they run that veer offense. And you know how many passing attempts they ran in that game against Groves? 1. They had 1 passing attempt.
Which in this was Oxford's former coach in the sidelines helping?
Riley,
was Bud down there helping?
No, they run a veer offense. You know what I mean?
I know, but it's like you don't pass.
Well,
and
in the veer, you don't have to pass.
And if it's working,
if it's working, keep doing it.
And they had no answer. And we talked about the veer. That if you can't get your feet under you and find a solution to that, it'll chew you up all night long.
And that's what happened in this game. Now, on Groves' side, I thought Groves played a really good game. I really thought that with Coach Brendan Flaherty, what he did, I thought Groves played a really good game. Now, the record is very dubious. They're 2-2 right now. They've lost a ton of close games. But I think Groves is better than what people think they are. I think at the end of the day, when you look at Groves, they're going to be fine.
Yeah.
Now that district is going to be very interesting because you got Berkeley in there now, which could be really interesting. But right now, to me, the 2 best teams in that district right now are Groves and Seaholm, especially with Seaholm with the way they've been playing. That was an emotional win for them. I'm a little curious to see how they're going to do this week.
And their next opponent is?
They're at Clarkston.
See?
Yeah.
That's
your reward? That's your reward?
Yeah, no kidding. I was going to say this is one of those challenges. We'll call it a challenge, right? Every week's a challenge.
Mm-hmm.
Is that if for some chance they can knock off the Wolves at their place?
That's a big if.
It is a big if, but it's one of those things that you go, whoa. It would be a season-defining situation, right? Do you think they can carry that momentum?
But that play, though, against Groves
play
against your arch rival?
Yes.
On the road in their house?
Yes.
That says a lot.
If you guys, listening out there, if you can dig up that play, where did you find that video?
I found it on Jeff Corin. Me and him, we get along great.
Because that was shot from the end zone. Yes. It was, I don't know, it was like a phone or...
Yeah, it was on the phone. It was
insane. And whoever got that, great timing, because at least it's on record.
It is on record now.
And it is something to see. The sound of that crowd going nuts, so it's like when it happened, he was in the clear.
It was like a tale of emotional sides. You know what I mean? And you look at, of course... You look at Groves, they were about going nuts. Seaholm's going like, oh, no, here we go now. If Magnum would have scored that touchdown and made it 28-21 Groves,
flips that
game. It would have forced Seaholm to basically throw in that game, which was something Seaholm does not really like to do.
Yeah.
If it flipped, you know what I mean? on Groves' side, that's a whole different ballgame. That was like a tale of two emotions.
Oh, absolutely. It's pure joy to agony.
Pure joy to agony. I mean, if you're in Maple Forest and white, you're in Cloud 9 right now. If you're in green and gold right now,
you're
you're
still in disbelief.
In disbelief.
Yeah. And the unbelievable individual effort. And that goes to, in football in general, and the coaches always say, play to the whistle. It's not over until you hear that whistle. And you give maximum effort all the time. And that was a maximum effort play. And it was like sure will, and I would love to have seen it from the stands as it happened in front of us. I think it would be going right to left, right? If we're in the home stands.
Yeah, it was going from the home stands, it was going right to left. Yeah, you're right.
Right. And then so if you're watching it, it's like, what a play. And just as a neutral observer, you're going, what a play. And then, oh my, boom, it happened. He knocked that punch. Fundamentals.
Yeah, that's how it is.
Fundamentals.
Even though I'm a little hesitant on playing your quarterback and defense, you know what I mean? That's a little concerning to me.
That's true. That's true. But hey, the best athletes were on the field, and what happened? It paid off.
But you know what I'm really happy with, though? I want to go from Seaholm Groves, Berkeley, and Athens.
Yes.
This was a good game. I mean,
that was
14-0 start for Berkeley, trailing in that game. I know Ian Dombrowski, their quarterback, he got hurt a little bit in that game. So Coach Sean Shields made the switch to put him at running back. And you enter in Zach Maurice, who I've personally been wanting Coach Shields to play because he brings you experience, you know what I mean? And they got it done against Troy Athens. They got it done. I mean, Athens, their record deceives you at 1-3, but their losses have been by a combined 15 points.
15 points.
That's insane.
We've seen other teams do that over the year. I mean, are they a young team because you're
Athens is a veteran team.
And that's the bummer because if they were a young team, you're like, oh, watch out. I mean, the future is bright for this team. We've seen other teams do that.
Right.
And to have a lead and it evaporated, and where do you go? It's just the story of the season is so close. We were so close.
It's like you're so close, but you're so far.
Oh, absolutely. But the guts to come back from a 14-0 hole.
And I think that's the thing with Coach Sean Shields. Of course, he has an experienced team. He talked to us on the pod a couple weeks ago. We talked about he has a lot more experience now. He has a lot of different options.
Depth and health.
And
right?
that health, and you have health too. And of course, you have health too, which is a huge thing to have. But when you look at that Berkeley team, 4-0 first time since 2014. When you look at that team, I mean, they still go with two quarterbacks, even though I don't understand why. I mean, I really think that do
you think there's a clear?
I think Dombrowski's a much better running back than he is at quarterback, to be honest with you. But that's just me. But whatever Sean Shields goes, you know what I mean? Head coach here goes.
Hey,
I think it's working for him right now.
He's pulling the right strings. Things are going well.
Oh, it's going right now, yeah.
Right? And they didn't panic, right?
No.
I mean, they're showing a lot of guts, a lot of maturity, and fighting through.
The schedule gets tough for Berkeley, when you look at, of course, the next two games. And that's the same thing with Rochester. Rochester and Berkeley are like on this collision course but the schedule gets tough for both teams. I mean, Berkeley, big one this week at Hurley against Bloomfield Hills. And then you look at Rochester, big one against Ferndale. Then those two teams clash last game of the year next week at Hurley. So
yeah, you're looking at opponents that Bloomfield Hills. I'm not sure what we're looking at with them. Are they?
Well, they played Birmingham Brother Rice, is a very good team.
They did, and it's not looking like the move down from the red is helping them at all. 27
points in 2 games. That doesn't help. I mean, yes, he played Rochester. Rochester, we know what they've been, but Birmingham Brother Rice, you know what I mean?
Yeah, different
animal. But yes, they got a quarterback in Tanner Zielinski. But you are right, Ian. I don't know if the move down to the blue has helped Bloomfield Hills.
I thought it'd give them like a boost, and
it did early on.
Yeah,
it did early on, and then all of a sudden it's just then like those 2 losses have really dragged them back to earth.
Yeah.
So But for them, they're looking at this game like, let's make a statement here. We got to make a statement. And I think that's going to be where Berkeley has to stand. You know what I mean? Where Bloomfield has to stand. People look at, of course, the enrollment size. Bloomfield is a much bigger school than Berkeley.
Yeah.
But when you look at it on paper, you know what I mean? In this game on paper, Berkeley right now, I looked at Berkeley's schedule early on and I said, okay, that is very soft. You know what I mean? But then they've impressed me with that big win against Athens. Of course, that was huge.
Yeah.
Made a statement against Troy, beat Athens. But this is going to be the next 2 games for them are going to be the indicators where I think that could really determine where Coach Sean Shields and the Berkeley Bears have. I mean, right now I've already checked the playoff projection maps. Snooze TU released his maps, and right now he's got Berkeley right now the number 1 seed in that very interesting district that has Groves and Seaholm in there.
Yes.
So I think that's a very interesting. It's
starting to look as interesting as what's the district up north loaded with like Orion Clarkson and those guys. So this district with Berkeley doing what they're doing.
Well, and let's not forget they got Sterling Heights in there.
I know, but it all instantly got more interesting.
It got more interesting, you know what I mean? Especially with how Berkeley's been playing. Rochester, of course, they're in that vaunted district as well. But if there's like a team that we gotta bring up, and the Stony Creek Cougars keep making statements after statements after statements after statements.
Yeah,
they sent one against Adams, beating them 23-10 on Friday night. Now, Adams is a very young team, of course, starting Parker Pico at quarterback. They got an emerging freshman wide receiver in Brady Prescorn.
Yeah.
And then you look at Adams is in a lot of trouble right now when you look at them, especially if they got this week. But Stony Creek, I've been giving people in Macomb County, especially on a certain podcast, watch out for this team.
Yeah.
Watch out for this team, because I will tell you what right now. If I had to take Stony Creek against a MAC Red foe.
Ooh. Are you making a big statement?
I would take Stony Creek over Chippewa Valley. I would take them over Macomb, Dakota.
Whoa.
And I would take them over Romeo and Utica Eisenhower. I'd take them over all 4 of those MAC Red teams right now. That's how good this team is right now.
Wow.
And they bring a lunch pail mentality, the armor up culture. This Stony Creek team, they're for real.
Yes, and every week we see that they can't get rattled.
No.
I thought this was against Adams was the toughest game. Obviously, at least we thought.
This week's going to be tough for them.
It is, but up to this point, because they kind of rolled through everybody else.
Mm-hmm. They made statements against Seaholm, North.
Yes,
God.
and now with Adams, and you're looking at it going, and watching the scoring as it was happening, it was kind of an interesting game. It wasn't a blowout. They had to work for it.
Yeah, they worked for it.
And on the road, we didn't even mention this, but it could have been what you say, the classic trap game. But not having won
ever,
which I cannot believe that. That is amazing.
Stony Creek was a school that existed in 2002.
Yes, but still, usually get one.
Sure.
But anyway, to go in there, handle their business, get in and get out. They are confident.
Yep.
They're ready to go and they're focused.
Yep.
And it's what a veteran team should be doing at this time of year, getting better, getting stronger. You don't need blowouts every week.
No, you don't need blowouts. You need to get tested.
Correct.
I know they're going to get tested this week.
Yes.
When they head down to Southfield. So when you look at Stony Creek, they've gotten good quarterback play from Ryan Eckhout.
Mm-hmm.
Cameron Buford's been on fire.
Yes.
The thing that concerns me, though, is that deep threat. They don't really have that true deep threat, where it could say, okay, where we can focus on stopping the run and then force Ryan Eckhout to throw. I think that's going to be Coach Nick Merlot's challenge, is developing that passing game.
Yeah.
Because they're going to their line is very good. When you look at, of course, Austin Jordan, Kavir Ellis, Engelbrat, and that line. But if you dare Stony Creek to throw in this game, that's my biggest concern with Stony Creek is, can this team develop a deep threat? If they can develop a deep threat, especially at the receiving spot, then I think this is going to be a much more dangerous team.
Yeah. Like any team is, if you are balanced, you are very dangerous, especially if they can get balanced, especially with those lines.
Well, and I know what helps them is they can move Burford out, play slot receiver.
Yeah.
Burford can play anywhere. He can play quarterback. He can play,
It's such a luxury to have a player that is so versatile.
Yeah, he's very versatile.
It's like
very versatile.
It's like that utility tool. It's like you put them anywhere and it does its job,
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, it's fun to watch. We are not surprised.
No.
Knew it was coming.
Yep.
Saw the writing on the wall. How many more cliches should I throw?
None.
None. But it's fun to see. We saw it, last year.
I remember that Lake Orion game very well.
That was one of those eye openers. You're going, what is going on?
What's going on?
This is real. This isn't some fluke. And I'm glad it's coming through, because a program like Stony Creek, it's good to see them find success. And it's fun. It's just a lot of fun.
And they got sent east.
I know.
They got sent east instead of going up that vaunted North District. My goodness.
So now, I mean, with your grand statement, are you saying they're the favorite over there?
Let me tell this to Zach and Zach right now. You bet you I am telling you this right now. Stony Creek is favored in that district. They are favored.
Wow.
Ferndale's another one. I think that's been really interesting.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, this is a team that 28-7 over Troy. Ferndale does very well in league, but when they go out of league, they got problems. Look at, of course, the game 2 weeks ago against Allen Park.
Oh yeah, it was ugly.
That was ugly. 49-8. This team has got to they got to figure it out of league. They got to figure it out against the white. They got to figure it out against the red. I mean, because for Coach Eric Rowe to make that next step, that's Ferndale's challenge.
Yeah.
Now they beat Troy. Troy, and we know we both of us had promise with Troy.
We were hoping,
and then all of a sudden, 14 points in 2 weeks.
I know, but I so wanted to get behind the Colts.
Actually, take that back. 7 points in 2 weeks.
Yes, because they were, I think,
they were shut out by Berkeley.
Yeah. And so it's like they started off with the first 2 games, they're scoring points, looking good, feeling good, and then kind of reverted back to tendencies.
Yep.
I mean, it's competitive.
Yeah.
Right? It's not complete and utter destruction.
Yeah.
So any improvement, I'll take it for the Colts.
But still, for Ferndale, they've got to improve against out of league. They got to improve against out of league. North Farmington, kind of what we expected.
Yeah.
38-14, North Farmington. Aaron Rice had a big game against Farmington's defense, which was giving up over 35 points.
Do you think they're kind of in free fall, Farmington?
I think they're in some trouble. I really do. They've got to figure out some things quick.
And there's not a lot of time. I mean, a compressed season.
Right. And then, of course, we look at Avondale, we know they're starting to get gelling again. I feel bad for Pontiac.
I do. Yep. Yeah, it's tough.
It is. And then, of course, let's look at the Reds. Southfield made a statement against Oak Park. I mean, you know what? I don't know if I want to say this on air here.
If you're not sure, don't.
But I think I owe Tim Conley an apology.
Oh.
Because
apologies are always nice.
Last year, because what they did to Oak Park, which is insane.
Yeah.
They have a quarterback. I'm still concerned about their depth. They got a running back in Raekwon Lee. They got wide receivers in Robert Army, Jeff Bowens. But I owe this team an apology because I've been so hard to these guys.
Yes.
I've been really hard. And they picked up a big win against against a good Knights program, which I'm still in shock. They're struggling the way they are. It's just it just when you look at A&T, this is a dangerous team going forward. When you have a freshman at quarterback,
Yeah.
you have but the question's going to be program strength always with Southfield.
Yeah.
So that's my apology of the week. That's my
Of the
apology.
week, you're going to have to apologize every week now?
No, I'm not going to.
You know we could.
Oh, we could, but
You said-
could. But
you said enough things over the years.
I said enough things.
Oh, that's funny, Sam.
And then of course,
Uh-oh. I
Yeah.
think we lost the camera. Let me tilt that back up. That's so funny.
yeah.
Is it going to work? Oh, that's funny. Oh, here, let me try to fix that. Anyway,
All right.
it's,
And then we got to talk Clarkson Lake Orion. I mean,
geez, Sammy.
this one's going to be hard to watch. When you look at this game here, Clarkston, they look very good. They look really good. But I'm going to look at Lake Orion's side. Lake Orion offensively they did not play very well in that game. They just did not they look predictable. And people have said to me, and I watched the game from the press box. I actually did the clock for that game. So when you look at Lake Orion, in their case, this Dragon team has scored 14 points in 2 weeks, which is not good. But this offense has got some problems.
It does.
Mm-hmm.
It does.
When you look at them, and I've said this, Lake Orion's offense, this offense looks predictable. They look predictable. I'm serious.
Yeah,
There were 4 plays in that game that could have changed the whole complexion.
see, I think this is where we kind of diverge in our
Mhm.
opinions. The first quarter play, we were talking about that.
Yeah, the 4th down play.
4th down, Dragons called the right play. I know you're saying they should have gone for
They should
points,
have gone for the points, yeah.
but they called the right play. It worked. I don't know
The
who
play worked,
There was a
but-
drag across the middle, wide open.
Just catch the ball.
Catch the ball. It was dropped. There's your 4th down. And what did Clarkson do?
Went down and scored, played time possession
Straight
football.
down the field. And we know the running back situation, an injury of a huge name.
AJ Mozan got hurt in that game. That's a huge loss.
Yep. And their top running back
Mhm.
from a week ago against West Bloomfield. We saw that happen late in that game.
Ethan Clark. He
Yes.
didn't play.
Huge. He didn't play.
He didn't play.
I thought we'd see him maybe in the second half. We didn't see him at all.
No.
And their convered receiver wearing
Aiden
the
Brooks.
jersey number 1 picked apart.
1 or 21.
Was it 21?
think
I don't
it
know.
was
I thought it was
21,
1.
yeah.
Anyway, he was a blur, and there was no drop-off in the running game.
No drop off.
So what does that tell you? Who's he running behind?
When you're running with Spindler, Dillinger, both Dillingers, Owen Foster, Ben Haas, I mean,
They took over that game,
yeah.
and their force of will basically just trucked the Dragons.
I didn't like what Clarkson did after the game, though.
I didn't either. I know Lake Orion last year on the road beat them pretty big.
Yeah. 55-21, I remember
and
that.
Yes, and we talked about it. We knew that it was we're looking for some payback potentially.
Mhm.
And at the end of the game,
They had their flag. They had their flag, you know what I mean? And I know Kurt Richardson, their coach,
He
let
did
him have it. He let him have it.
He did. He did a great job of controlling the situation because you don't want it to get ugly. The game's over. You won. You made your statement. And there was some taunting going on, and, it could have gotten ugly quick, but give it to the coaching staff over at Clarkson. They got in on it and said, knock it off.
Mhm.
And, things leveled out, and that's the end of the game. But you're right. There were some instances where the Dragons could have pinned them deep and decide, but
The one that really bothers me was, the punt where instead of letting Andrew Bryant, a very good punter, punt the ball,
yeah.
you let Kyler Carson your quarterback do like a So like a punt like there.
Yeah, it was almost like a
and
rugby.
It got blocked.
Yeah, it was like a rugby style. We saw Clarkston do it to DePillo did a good job of it against West Bloomfield the week prior.
Right.
Where you're in the shotgun, you grab it, it looks like you're going to do a read, and then you just kind of pooch punt it.
Mm-hmm.
And the Dragons tried to do the same
They did
thing.
it against UD Jesuit, but UD Jesuit and Clarkston are two different opponents.
Completely. And especially when the push they were getting up front, Clarkston on Lake Orion's offensive line, it failed miserably, and they got the ball in good field position, went right down and scored.
It put the defense in a really tough strain.
Yes.
You know
and
what I mean?
to come back, to have to fight from a hole
It's
for Lake
difficult.
Orion, it's difficult, especially when the passing game's really not clicking.
Not clicking, yeah. And
But here's my big takeaway. The surprise I had where like, at least for Lake Orion, was DePillo's arm.
yep.
He was dropping dimes that we did not see against West Bloomfield. He didn't look
It
comfortable.
basically looked like Utica Eisenhower
Oh,
over again.
He
It
was.
looked like Utica Eisenhower over again.
He looked really comfortable in the pocket. He made the right decisions. The ball was on time, right between the numbers. The receivers didn't have to make spectacular catches. And the long ball they threw over
I will be curious next
It was
year. You know, when
unbelievable.
Clarkson doesn't have that line next year, how DePillo's going to do.
Yeah, well, yeah, we
I
can
am
talk next
curious.
year.
We can
You
talk
even
next
brought
year.
up, they go, hey, what if they played in the spring?
What do they play in the spring?
Right?
Different
But
maybe different outcome.
could be, but they didn't.
They didn't.
But I have to kudos to Clarkson's quarterback and the game plan and the scheme and the coaching staff because it seemed like they caught Lake Orion a little off guard with the long
They
ball.
caught him off guard. They basically followed
Don't you think?
what Utica Eisenhower did to him last year in the playoffs. I mean,
Threw
that's
over
basically
top.
what happened. Threw
What-
over the top, basically just exposed the pass defense and basically, and then took it
Because
in.
Sam, once that the long ball over the top is working,
You're in trouble.
Play action chews you up.
Mm-hmm.
Because it was drop back, handed off, and they're like, they didn't know what to cover
Didn't know
and
what to
when,
cover.
and with the holes that the big guys were making, it was I would say a long night, but it was a quick night because that clock kept running.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so it was a long night for the Dragons, but hey, Clarkston, they look good. They look like their old selves.
Can Lake Orion
They
get
look
this
balanced.
thing fixed? Can Lake Orion get this thing fixed?
I think so. The quarterback situation for Lake Orion is still one of those head scratchers. Are they going to settle on somebody?
I still think, to be honest with you, I still think Carson is the right guy. I still think he is. I mean, like, even though Bruno scored got the only touchdown, but they've got some things they got to address. So that is the big question. Before we move on to making our picks for week number 5 this week, let's not say, Troy Athens this week, they have a bye week. Don't know why, because St. John's had to back out of their non-conference game with Troy Athens. So Troy Athens has an unexpected bye, but we look in the way of the coronavirus world that we're living in. There could be an opponent possible for Troy Athens.
Yeah.
I mean, so Troy
St.
Athens.
John's.
Yeah, Troy Athens has an unexpected bye week looming. This week they have Troy next week, which is going to be very interesting. But
a lot of the teams in the OAA who have run into the COVID situation have been lucky enough to find another opponent.
Right, but Lake Orion right now is in a really tough spot.
Yeah.
The fact they played 3 games right now. I mean, if you play 4 games, you're automatically in for the playoffs. So, so if you're Lake Orion, it's important for them to stay healthy.
Stay healthy, sure, and their next week opponent
is Farmington.
Yes, so that could be the confidence booster again.
That could be, yeah.
But they don't want to.
Right.
Could that be a trap? I can't see that being a trap game.
I don't think it's a trap game. Look, that'll be our first game to look at Lake Orion and Farmington. I don't think this is a trap game. Farmington's given up 35 points in each of their 4 games this year. I mean, they are a young defense. They've got some issues. I think this defense bounces back in a big way, but if it comes down to the offense, if the offense finds a way and clicks like they did against Oak Park, I think this is a blowout. But if the offense has to find a way, to make some noise in this game.
Yeah, I agree. At this point, at least for the Dragons, I'm still trying to figure out what are they. I thought I knew after Oak Park. And then after UAD, you're going,
I think they need to do some.
I'm not sure what we're looking
14 points in 2 weeks. It's not going to get it done.
Yeah.
So I've got Lake Orion in this game. You going Lake Orion too?
Yeah. It's at home again.
It's at home.
Boy, has the Dragons have a favorable schedule.
I know.
A lot of home games.
And then, of course, you got Groves at Oak Park. You know what I mean? This will be an interesting game.
I'll take Groves.
You got Groves.
Yeah.
I got Groves, too.
Oak Park's been limping. I got
this point.
Groves,
too. I mean, they're rolling right now. They've had a very emotional loss to Seaholm. That was a very tough loss to take.
It's a instant classic game. It's I really hope the listeners on OAA Now and everybody gets out there and gets a chance to see that game. That's one I got to dig up. I have to watch.
I will dig that up for you. I will dig that up
please,
for you.
Please.
And then we got North Farmington at Oxford. This is going to be an interesting game.
So,
2-2, both teams are 2-2. This will be very interesting.
2-2, and on
it's at Oxford.
I know, and I feel like Oxford's better than we're seeing, but I haven't seen them in person yet. I was trying to tune in the game; they didn't have it.
And then
last
there's North
week.
Farmington.
And North Farmington is kind of a Jekyll and Hyde type of thing. I'm going to go North Farm.
You're going to go North?
Yeah.
I'm going to go Oxford.
Okay.
Because I think the Wildcats have enough depth. Brady Carpenter makes a difference in this game. I'm going to go Oxford.
Yeah, I think I'm going to go North. Let's just see what happens.
Does Adams have a chance against West Bloomfield?
No.
Yeah.
West Bloomfield's feeling it. That loss to Clarkston stung.
And they took it out on Oxford.
And they did.
They took it out on Oxford.
They did. It was over after a quarter and a half.
Yeah.
No, West Bloomfield rolls.
And then we got Clarkston and Seaholm. This is going to be an interesting game. But do you think it's going to be interesting, or do you think it's got blowout?
So, one of two things can happen. After a big emotional, win, and you're like, what can happen?
Disaster.
You can come crashing down big because it was your rival, right?
Right.
The next game is like, it's a big one. We're going on the road, and sometimes going to Clarkston. That crash can come. Will it happen? I don't know. Only coach knows that. You know, he knows the temperature of his. Yep, he knows the temperature of his team in that locker room, how they feeling. They're riding high. Clarkston cannot sit back because it is a quality opponent coming in. I think Clarkston just has too much up front.
Yeah,
and
I'm looking at
the way
that
those
too.
guys take over the game. It's.
I think it's going to be too much Clarkston in this game. I really think the Wolves are going to be a team to keep an eye on.
Yeah. And I don't think it matters who's running the ball at this point for the Wolves.
Let's go to the blue now before we talk top 3 games. Of course, our most interesting games I'm keeping an eye on. Avondale Royal Oak. My goodness.
Is that an interesting game?
Well, both teams are tying in playoff points right now coming in.
Really?
Yeah, both teams are tying in playoff points. Have same identical records at 1-3. Royal Oak got destroyed last week by Rochester, and then Avondale coming off, that destruction in Pontiac.
Well, maybe it's a closer game, not a lot of points. I don't know. These guys, I don't know. You pick them. Maybe you'll go Avondale.
You know, it's funny because Royal Oak beat Avondale in boys basketball last year.
Okay,
it was a tale of two. It was like very low scoring games.
This is a tough one because
this is going to be a very interesting.
I think Avondale. Let's go Avondale.
You got Avondale?
Yeah, but that's complete coin flip. You know,
I'm going Avondale route.
Ooh,
I'm going Avondale route.
I
think
you think
I think they're starting to find their identity a little bit.
I think Royal Oak's defensive situation there is more dire than.
Yeah, their defensive situation is more dire over there. I mean, I just think that it's more dire over there.
Okay.
Now let's look at some interesting games in the blue. We got Troy and Pontiac at Don Colt Stadium.
I think Troy bounces back. I think like you said, you saw the depth of Pontiac, and it's just There's just not a lot of bodies there. And at this point of the season, regardless if you're winning or losing, you have injuries, you're beat up, right? I mean, this is the guts of the season.
You know what makes this interesting?
Yeah.
Pontiac, if the district started today, are the 5th seed in their district. They would be going up to Bay City Central.
Whoa.
They'd be going up to Bay City Central in their district. Wouldn't that be interesting? And I'll tell you what, I think Pontiac has a chance in that game against Bay City.
Bay City Central?
Yeah, I think they got a chance.
What about the game this Friday?
I think it's going to be a close game.
So do I.
I think it's going to come down to 3 field goals by Ryan Plesso. I think it's going to be a low-scoring game. I think it's going to be 9-6 in favor of Troy.
Really?
Really?
You don't think they get a touchdown?
No. I think Pontiac finds a way to keep them out of the end zone.
I'm going to say 21-7.
Okay.
Troy.
21-7.
21-7.
Okay.
I think they're going to score some points.
Okay.
Because we know they can do it. We've seen it.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah.
Let's look at the most.
Wow.
Let's look at the other interesting games we got. We got 2 in the blue that are going to be really interesting. Ferndale at Rochester. This is going to be a really good game, I think. When you look at, if it comes down to a depth contest, it favors Rochester. But both these teams have some athletes. Rochester's got experience. Ferndale, we know about. Can this be for Ferndale? For them, the test? You know what I mean? To get, for them, even though it's a league opponent, but Rochester's one of those big schools. But this is the test for Ferndale because, yes, they've had problems against out of league teams. But Rochester, of course, let's not forget, this is a team that, they've got experience on their side. They got a ton of talent on their side. For Eric Royal, this is a statement game for Ferndale. Do you think
Ferndale, it is. I think it's a statement game for both.
You think it's a statement game for both?
So Rochester, yes, they're riding high, right?
Yeah.
They got a clean sheet.
Mm-hmm. Ferndale's going to be their toughest game this year.
Agreed. And Rochester's lucky that it's at home.
Mm-hmm.
Because what do we always say? It's about 7-point swing at home, right?
If they would have went down to Ferndale.
I think it might be a different situation. So I'm going to say Rochester by 1.
Ooh.
Right? I mean, I think it's that close.
I think it's that close, too. I really do. I mean, Eric Royal's got a juggernaut down there at Ferndale. I mean, if it comes down, if Rochester uses their depth in this game, I think Rochester wins in a blowout. But Ferndale's got something. Ferndale's got something that really impresses me. I mean, especially in league opponents.
Yeah.
They've already beaten Troy and Troy Athens, both Division I schools already. So I think this is going to be a very similar game to when they played against Troy Athens.
Okay.
I think it's going to be a tight game. I think it could be a 7-point game.
Ooh. Okay.
I like Rochester in this game because I think Alex Blano is going to find a way to get it done. I think Rochester wins this game very close.
And, for me, the way Rochester is going, that's almost...
They're 4-0 first time since 1994.
I know. It's the feel-good... One of the feel-good stories of 2020. Mm-hmm. And it's a team that you're going, okay, this game on the schedule is going to define, yes, this is real. And if they can take down Ferndale, I think it's going to be... I don't want to say that they passed the midterm or they passed the final exam saying, yes,
I think the test for them is going to be Berkeley. I think that's going to be the test for them. But Ferndale's a very quality opponent. Let's not forget that. I mean, Ferndale, I think is going to give Rochester big problems in this game. I really do.
Yeah, I think it's going to be 1, but at 1 point. I think it's going to be very, very close.
And then let's look at Berkeley and Bloomfield Hills at Hurley. This is probably going to be Hurley's biggest game maybe since 2015. When you look at this game, this is going to be Berkeley's best quarterback they've seen in Tanner Zielinski. When you look at the Bears, they've went through a ton of stress last week against Troy Athens, but they have a lot of confidence that they can come back. Bloomfield Hills last 2 weeks, 27 points in 2 weeks. That's bad.
It's, I can't figure them out.
Berkeley, of course, let's not forget they have William Saris on the outside. You look at both Dombrowskis, and then either playing quarterback or at running back. This will be very interesting to see.
Yeah.
Who do you got in that game?
Who do you have?
Berkeley.
So do I.
And then our last game we got is Stony Creek and Southfield A&T. This is going to be really interesting.
Yeah.
When you look at these two teams on paper.
Do you think it's going to be that close? The way
yes,
Stony's
I do.
playing?
Yes, I do. Here's why. I think Southfield's a team that, they want to prove they're back. They want to prove that, we're here.
Mm-hmm.
We're for real. I mean, like we've had a couple tough losses to them. Clarkston, and we had a tough loss to West Bloomfield.
Yeah.
I mean, and then look at Stony. You bring in a juggernaut like Stony Creek. I mean, this team could be this team, we know they're running on all cylinders.
Do you think they stumble? Because we've seen a lot of teams that are rolling like Stony, that having one loss or something go wrong, like a close game, is actually, I hate to say it, a boost for the to refocus them.
I think last year had a lot to do with Stony losing all those close games a year ago.
You think that was?
I think that was
the formula.
But for Stony Creek, this is a red opponent. They have struggled against the red. When you look at last year when they lost to Lake Orion, Orion was a red opponent. Stony Creek against the red has had some issues. Southfield Arts and Tech is a red opponent. This is going to be a very tight game. This is another hurdle of the Armor Up culture. This is another hurdle to beat somebody in the red.
Yeah.
Is this Stony Creek's chance to do it? I think it is.
So do I.
Because here's why. Cameron Burford's going to have a huge game. But if you attack Southfield's secondary, I don't trust that secondary at all. It's Southfield. I think they're going to find a way in that game. The Armor Up culture is going to find a way in that game.
And I agree. To beat a red opponent is always a boost.
Mm-hmm. It's a major boost.
But at this point, I don't even know if Stony Creek is even looking at blue and red and white. They're just saying, who's in front of me? Let's go get them. Right?
Mm-hmm.
And
especially with looming their district with the MAC red.
It doesn't matter.
It doesn't matter.
No.
And I've been saying this to Zach and Zach for weeks. Watch out for Stony Creek.
So I agree. I think this is going to be a tight game. I think it's going to be a challenge. I know Stony and Adams went toe-to-toe, and it was a tight game for a while, and Stony spread it out and took
the quarterback coordinator matchup is going to be very interesting.
Yeah, it'll be fun.
The offensive coordinator, it's going to be Aaron Marshall against Gary Griffith. That is the offensive coordinator versus defensive coordinator matchup. That's going to be a good match there. The quarterback matchup between Isaiah Marshall and Ryan Eckhout. That's going to be very interesting there.
Yeah.
You got Cam Burford, Robert Army. I mean, if it comes down to individual players, you would have to give an edge to Southfield. But with the physicality up front and the line up front, I think that's going to be the difference in that game.
Because Stony Creek, that line does not wither as the game goes along.
No, they get stronger.
They get stronger, and they will beat you into submission. So I see Stony 7 points.
Stony Creek by 7. You think it's going to be like a 28-21 game?
Something like that, yeah. It's going to be close.
I could see maybe a 1-2 score game, maybe. I mean, I just think that Stony Creek, they're rolling on all cylinders right now. You're right. They're taking all challengers by account.
They are. It's who's next?
Yeah, who's next? Any team to watch has to be on upset alert this week.
Do you have one?
I do. I would say Berkeley has to be on upset alert. Because of Bloomfield Hills, Tyson Zelinsky, their quarterback. That's a team that's on upset alert. Anybody on you?
I'd say Rochester.
Rochester?
Because they're feeling so good about themselves, sometimes you overlook.
And you
Right.
have a quality opponent
opponent.
coming up there in Ferndale.
Yeah.
That's a game to be careful for.
Yeah, that Rochester's my upset opponent. You know, watch out.
So when we look at, of course, we look at going into the playoffs. When you look at the playoff situation, how that's unfolded, I mean, like right now, is there a team in the postseason that could be very dangerous? I think there's one that could be really dangerous that nobody's seen, and I think that's Southfield Arts and Tech. Here's why. Let's say, for example, if Southfield Arts and Tech plays Sterling Heights Stevenson.
Yeah.
I think that's going to be a really good game between those two teams because I think that A&T, they have the quarterback. I'm a little concerned about their depth, but that's a game I would look forward to in the playoffs. I mean,
I know you love doing this. You love looking ahead. I mean, even at the start of the season, you're looking. I just gotta
be careful.
You look ahead.
I gotta be careful and take some steps back.
I know you do. You jump right to the end and go, I'm enjoying this regular season more so than I thought I would. I mean, there's like we said about like Rochester and Stony and some others. Like, there's some really great storylines.
Rochester.
It's been a lot of fun.
It's been a lot of fun. I mean, like
Great
Rochester is rolling again. Berkeley's 4-0. I mean, like first time. You know what I mean? Like since 2014, Rochester 4-0 first time since 1993. I mean, like my goodness.
It's a lot of fun, and you know, it's like a mixture of emotion when we were sitting around going, are we going to have football? You know, and now we have it, and now it's turned into a ton of fun.
It's gotten a lot of fun, and I also think, you know, what also helps everybody staying healthy.
Yes.
You know.
Yeah, and we can't discount that at all because I mean there's so many chances for stuff to go haywire.
Even though virus counts are up right now, which is not good.
And I'm just crossing my fingers that we make it through the regular season and everybody's healthy. We get there. Let's get there and
to winter
see what
to
happens.
Get to basketball season as well.
Basketball.
I did release my top 20 two for basketball.
You did already?
I did. It's an early season. It's not my projections or preview. Right. They're at the blog at SammySemicolon@blogspot.com.
Yeah, and with basketball, not to get like a weird rubberneck on this sort of thing, but the basketball, we're working on schedules. We're still anticipating modified schedules, some sort of thing coming. So it's still kind of
right now. As far as there's 20
games.
They did release districts for basketball. I have them up on my blog at SammySemicolon@blogspot.com. We'll go over the districts sometime, you know, when we get closer to the start of the season. So
but there's way too much football going on.
Oh, yeah.
And also, I understand that you have a soccer preview for the soccer district.
Yes,
as well.
I do. If you are, I think watch out for Athens. Athens last year is the defending state champion. They could make some noise in Division I. I think that, but watch for Berkeley as well. I think they're in the same district. So it's going to be very interesting for sure.
Yeah. So if we have, I think this week is the end of the regular season, correct? For soccer?
Starts district week. Yes,
it
this
is.
week.
Okay.
Yep, district week.
I know the last couple of games are today and maybe tomorrow, and then districts hit.
Yep, districts start up on Wednesday, so that'll be very interesting to see what happens.
Yeah. Postseason coming, Sammy.
Oh yeah. I think you got regional this weekend for cross country, isn't it?
Yeah, the pre-regional. Well, actually, I think they're doing the OAA red and blue and white championship race, so that was added. Yeah, that schedule is still being maneuvered and changed every week.
Oh, that's what we live in right now.
Yeah, absolutely.
All right, now I'm going to sign off here this week. Take care, everybody. See you all next week. Hopefully Troy Athens gets a game this week.
Yeah, hopefully.
Take care and see you all next week, everybody.
Thanks, Sam. OAA Now is produced by Sammy Tierney, and the views on this show are his and mine alone. I like that. It's got a nice little ring to it. If you'd like to make your own podcast, give ONTV a call at 248-393-1060. We're doing individual classes now.
Ooh.
So get on the air. That's it for OAA Now. We'll see you next week. See ya.